Welcome to Slow Motion CGI, the movie, where a walking cheese grater tries his hand at being a pickup artist so he can fondle a couple boxes and brag to his friend back home. But this is no ordinary movie, this is the Snyder Cut. The first version was so god-awful, fans spent years hounding Warner Bros. To redo the thing. Now that it finally arrived, it is time to roast this sucker. But first, if you enjoy my content, please consider joining Patreon. If you become a member, you will have your name listed as a supporter at the end of the videos and help pick movies to get roasted, plus so much more.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
If you can't, then subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and share my video on social media. It really helps my channel.
Every little bit helps.
Now let's roast and review the Snyder Cut. The movie opens with Superman screaming about stranger danger as someone touches him. But the cry for help is soon extinguished. Henry Cavill's primal cry triggers boxes around the world to get all tingly and excited and begging to be touched.
Touch me, please, touch me.
Afterwards, we find ourselves in a secluded fishing village with fewer chromosomes than people. There's more inbreeding here than a royal family reunion. I guess Batman is struggling to find a supply of crushed walrus to fight his erectile dysfunction. When he tries to buy the entire town's supply, they get furious at the thought of losing their ability to bump uglies with their relatives again, which causes the head walrus wrangler to begin a striptease and water show to confuse Bruce Wayne. The visual spectacle fails to impress the billionaire, but the women around jump to sniff his soiled clothes faster than a fat, positive body image advocate driving to a buffet during happy hour. After watching the Joss Whedon version of the Justice League, I was skeptical the movie could be salvaged. It was such a disaster that it made Chernobyl look like child's play. Thankfully, Zack Snyder was able to cure Superman's Bell's palsy and remove the ridiculous one-liners that every superhero dropped in each scene. The consistent tone is a welcome addition to making the film no longer feel like a chore to watch.
Let me out of here! I can't watch another second!
Anyways, some pissed off hedge fund managers snapped after Redditors put a short squeeze on them, so they go and take a bunch of hostages. Luckily, Gal Gadot is here to tie up the bad guys. Normally I have to pay good money for that, but these get it for free. So Wonder Woman crashes the party and challenges them to a dance-off. Ultimately, her fly moves overwhelm them, and she wins the day. Henry Cavill got these boxes so worked up, they vibrate until completion. And apparently they need to be treated with Vagisil, because Steppenwolf and his minions can follow the scent like it's some nearby fish market.
Why would you say that?
This walking cheese grater is so desperate to get some action that he pushes harder than salt and pepper to pick it up. Only the Amazonians are having a girls' night out, and made a rule that they all leave together, so they spurn his advancements. But the industrial shredder won't take no for an answer and brings the box on a magic carpet ride. There are a couple giant improvements to this version of the Justice League. Steppenwolf no longer looks like he's wearing a Celtic scrotum on his head, and he doesn't sound like he's chewing marbles while talking. Another big improvement to the film is the inclusion of his motivations. He seeks redemption and to erase his past failures so he can return to Darkseid.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
The box gets toxic shock when Steppenwolf leaves a metal sheet on it for too long, which causes an ungodly scent that completely fills the room. But he isn't content on just one box, he wants to party like Charlie Sheen on payday. Then a bunch of Amazons rub Artemis until he on the world of men. But he's not as clean as he believed and causes the holy temple to burn. Wonder Woman sees this and rushes over with her extra strong dose of penicillin, but finds out even that can't heal this crotch rot. Afterwards, a collapsed vessel interrupts Aquaman fingering Flipper's blowhole. When he's unable to free Willy, he drinks his sexual frustrations away. Seeing his debaucherous descent, people urge him to end his f***boy ways and become the ruler of Atlantis. I guess Darkseid once tried to take over Earth because it had some secret tribal tramp stamp that held a famous recipe for something. Probably the universe's best Kung Pao chicken.
Better than a shitty Kung Pao chicken made from a cat!
Well, not content with sharing their delicious secrets, the people of Earth fought back by oiling themselves up like a slippery watermelon. I guess Darkseid couldn't handle the glazed bouncing pecs and retreated, too scarred and broken by what he saw to remember what planet had the lower back tattoo. The explanation in this film is better than the original, but the gaping plot hole is hard to miss. I'm not sure someone would just forget having their ass pounded by some glazed god. Wait, that's not what I meant.
Wait, what? No, I meant...
I know what you meant.
Now on to the least likable part of the movie, the chokeslam king himself, Ezra Miller as the Flash. The Flash was so flamboyant in this, I expected the village people to show up and sing YMCA each time he started running. Ezra's betrayal is almost as insufferable as a hangnail that rips skin off your thumb each time you try and pull at it.
But today I'm hurt, and I'll tell you why. I got a hangnail! Hangnail! Hanging from my cuticle, a hangnail! Hangnail! It ain't beautiful!
Afterwards, Steppenwolf takes a magic carpet ride to find out who gave him the crab infestation. One of the biggest issues with the Snyder Cut isn't actually his fault. The movie is constrained by the fact that Warner Bros. Rushed the film to compete with the Avengers. The issue is Snyder has to give backstory to several new characters, just because WB had the patience of a hungry toddler. The movie spent so much time trying to introduce Cyborg and the Flash that it detracts from the actual interesting plot, and there is indeed an interesting plot under all the unnecessary scenes. At least, what should be unnecessary. If all the characters had their own movie and set up meeting in small bits throughout, the Justice League could have been extraordinary. Instead, we are served a lukewarm grilled cheese sandwich. It's good, but you know it should be better. Once all the exposition is out of the way, we return to Atlantis, where Amber Heard takes a dump on a bed of seaweed. Then the Shredder makes a booty call visit to a wet box and returns home for a threesome. But his lust cannot be satiated, because he continues his hunt like Steven Seagal looking for another snack. One of the biggest improvements to the movie are the fight scenes. There's more depth and greater stakes. The fights have impact this time around, and we get to see how each hero interacts with each other. The punches feel like there's more weight behind them. I mean, it's still flashy, but is far more fun this time around. On top of that, the out-of-place and downright terrible jokes that were ham-fisted into the original Justice League are finally gone. Each character no longer has to pretend they are auditioning for an amateur comedy club. Plus, Jeremy Irons is straight up awesome as Alfred. But I feel like this movie is missing a little something. Afterwards, a man that was born to be wild fingers a box until it squirts with energy and ruins his clothing. But the Alpha Chad hears the moans and decides he wants to return for the great white whale tail with the tramp stamp that got away. Then it's back to the defenders of the Promise Ring, who are trying to save the third box's purity. But its scent is so powerful it can wake the dead. So they exhume Superman's body and put the box that smells like an abandoned tuna factory next to him, which rips him out of death's clutches. The smell is so offensive that it disorients Superman and causes him to lash out in self-defense. But he calms down when a local journalist arrives to cancel him on Twitter. Well, Steppenwolf was downwind at the time and arrives as the scientist gets it all hot and bothered. When the foreplay ends, the walking cheese grater swoops in to bring it home. So the Justice League develops a plan to get it back before Steppenwolf can finish his night of debauchery. Their solution is for the Flash to flail around like a beached whale to confuse and distract Steppenwolf, while the rest of the defenders of the Promise Ring swoop in to crash the party. So the Flash prances around like a peacock until he builds up enough of a charge to allow Cyborg to separate the box's scissoring. This prevents Darkseid from joining the festivities, but he vows he will travel to the end of the universe for his white whale tail. Afterwards, we catch a glimpse of the future, where the Joker took up a job as a beet farmer, got a bit too addicted to his own product, and caused Superman to go insane when he couldn't get any more beet juice. The backroom infighting between Snyder, Warner Bros., and AT&T makes it very difficult to judge the ending on its own merits. The actual ending feels a bit superfluous, like it was added as a wink and a nod to AT&T to help convince them to greenlight a sequel. If Warner Bros. Didn't go out of their way to disown the Snyder Cut and remove it from canon, then it would be an interesting setup for the next iteration in the series. But as a standalone ending, it feels out of place. If we don't get to see what happens next, then it is a cliffhanger with no payoff. Overall, the movie is enjoyable, especially when compared to the dumpster fire that is the original. But that version didn't set the bar very high. There are only a few major faults in this film, those being the excessive amount of slow motion scenes and the fact that at a minimum 1/3 of the film was spent introducing new heroes. One of those isn't Zack Snyder's fault, and if you remove all the slow motion scenes, you might remove an hour of watch time. With all that being said, it is a pretty decent superhero movie that most people will enjoy. You might just not finish it in one sitting. Now all this talk of Kung Pao chicken has made me hungry, so scram before you become Yeti food.